Liam was on the verge of freezing to death, yet surprisingly, he didn't tightly wrap himself in his warm clothes. Instead, he shivered uncontrollably as he suddenly yanked open the zipper, then without hesitation, ripped off his jacket. To everyone's astonishment, he went even further, taking off his pants, and ultimately even his underwear, leaving himself completely naked. At this point, the temperature had dropped to a deadly -30°C, and Liam was curled up in the harsh, biting wind and snow, completely exposed. His body shook violently from the cold, his face contorted in agony, and his teeth chattered uncontrollably, making terrifying sounds that seemed almost hopeless. But all he could do was desperately blow warm air onto his hands in a futile attempt to ease the unbearable chill. But it was all in vain, nothing helped. Despite being in such a life-threatening situation, Liam showed no intention of putting on his clothes. Instead, he kept his eyes fixed firmly on the bag in his hand. After what felt like an eternity of painful thought, he forced himself to pour out the expensive flour inside and replaced it with a bag full of fresh snow, holding it tightly to his chest, desperately wishing for a drink of warm water that could save his life. But Liam's struggle for survival was just beginning, all because he had ignored the warning signs while skiing and recklessly ventured into a dangerous, uninhabited zone. To make matters worse, he had fallen into the freezing lake, and if he hadn't known how to swim, the cold water would have swallowed him whole, and he would have surely perished. Though he miraculously survived, his clothes were soaked through. In such extreme weather conditions, it felt as though Liam had been sentenced to death. To prevent himself from freezing solid, he had no choice but to remove his wet clothes and hang them on a rock to dry. But even as night fell, his clothes remained soaked, and the hunger and cold pushed him to the brink of despair. Just as he was about to give up, something incredible caught his eye. On a distant mountaintop, he saw an elegant mansion. The sight filled him with a surge of hope, and he couldn't help but shout out loud in excitement, as if he had found a glimmer of life amidst the hopelessness. However, it was already late, and he knew he couldn't reach the mansion until the next day. With no other choice, Liam reluctantly put on his cold, damp clothes and curled up beneath the rock, resigned to spending the night there in the freezing cold. The next morning, Liam managed to drink a few mouthfuls of snow to regain some meager energy before forcing himself to prepare for the journey. But to his frustration, his phone still had no signal, and the radio only emitted static and chaotic noise, offering no clue about what to do next. It seemed his only hope now lay with the mansion on the mountaintop.